Guys, in this video, we are going to be taking a look at some holsters. It would be impossible in a single video to cover every type of holster that's available on the market, but I want to give you an idea of some things that you need to look for when you go to purchase a holster for your firearm. A big mistake that a lot of people make once they buy a gun is that they will go out and buy just a cheap holster to carry that gun with, thinking that it will be fine, that all holsters are just alike, when in reality, that's not true. Not all holsters are created equal. A holster should be seen as an investment, just like your firearm. If you invest in a good holster, you're going to get a much better result with that holster than you would just anything out on the market, especially when you're talking about concealed carry holsters. There are some concealed carry holsters that borderline medieval torture devices instead of concealed carry holsters. So they're just very uncomfortable. They do not work very well. And those are some of the things that you're going to need to consider when you go to purchase your holsters. Any holster that you're thinking about buying needs to be made to fit your particular gun. You do not need to get a holster that is too small. You do not need to get one that is too loose on your gun. It needs to be able to fit that gun. It needs to be designed to fit that gun. The first thing that you want to consider is, does it cover the trigger? Now, all guns in this video have been safety checked. I'm not going to take all the time to show you all of that on video, but they have been safety checked. But every holster needs to cover that trigger very well. If it does not cover that trigger, if you are carrying it, and you have it in a holster that is exposing that trigger, that is very risky. If something gets in there, if you catch that trigger on something, you can have a negligent discharge simply because the trigger was not covered properly. There are many holsters on the market that are universal, that will fit a few different firearms types, such as this Bianchi holster here. This holster features a thumb brake type of retention system, and it will actually fit my 92, and it will also fit my Smith & Wesson. It will just slip right in there, and with no problem whatsoever, it will fit that as well. That's a universal type holster that does fit both of these firearms. Different manufacturers will have just a little bit difference in their makes and models on the way that they make their universal holsters. But again, one thing that you want to check on any holster that you're considering is that it covers that trigger. If it does not cover that trigger, do not use that holster for that particular firearm. A very common holster found on the market is just your standard paddle holster. This is one that I have that fits my Glocks very well. These holsters in general they're very affordable, and for most part they do a very good job. This one comes with an adjustable retention. It just form fits the gun, and that's another reason, especially on these, that you need to make sure that the holster you buy is designed for your gun. I can adjust the tension, the force that it uses to pull this gun out, with the adjustment screw right here. You can get these too tight, and again, you can have them too loose. It just really depends on how well you want that firearm to stay in the holster. Right now, it's not going to fall out of there. I've got it set about where I like it. I don't want it too tight, but at the same time, I don't want it too loose either. I just don't want it falling out. That's one type of holster that I have for this gun. Another type is the Serpa retention holster. These are very popular as well. This type of holster actually features a mechanism that hooks around the trigger guard on your gun, and you can hear the click, that will lock it in place. Once it is in place, you must press that release in order to draw that gun from the holster. The location of that mechanism is right along the frame of your gun. When you press that in and draw it, your finger is indexed along the frame outside of the trigger guard. Now, these particular holsters have gotten a bad reputation from some due to basically training errors, people doing things with them that they should not. But of course, the main thing is a training error. We see people that get into doing this quick draw stuff with hair triggers on guns, that they've modified their triggers on, and end up shooting themselves in the leg. And that's kind of given these holsters a bad reputation. However, The holster is not at fault, it's the operator. One of the things that people will do a lot of times is they will use the tip of their finger to push in on that, and when they push in and just grabbing it, doing the quick draw, a lot of times it will fall right into that trigger well and cause a negligent discharge. This particular holster is, again, a paddle holster, and the way that it will help to grip onto your pants is this little hook here. The Phobos that you've seen earlier, the way that it is, you can kind of see the ridge that is along this, and then when you have it in your pants, underneath, this will kind of hook underneath your belt, kind of along your waist area around your belt, where this has an entire ridge that goes all the way across. This one has just a single hook. Both of these do seem to work very well when wearing these holsters. These, of course, are outside the waistband holsters. I wear these regularly, and especially in fall, spring, when you're wearing a jacket, just throw the jacket over it and you're fine, no problem. If you've seen some of my other videos, you've seen me using these holsters. There are many other holsters out on the market that kind of specialty holsters, of course, for deep concealment and that sort of thing. This is an inside the waistband holster. Now, the reason that this one looks the way that it does is this is a holster that I've actually made. There are holsters similar to this commercially available, but I like playing around in my shop making things, and I just decided to try to make some, and I actually made some holsters that work very well for me. These have a clip that you can slip the entire holster inside your waist. These clips do very well at holding them in place, and it will allow you to actually tuck in your shirt with this holster. It works real well for deep concealment, and it holds the firearm very well. It's leather and Kydex. I'm sure that you've seen many of these available on the market. There's a lot of manufacturers out there that are making them. And the thing that I like about this holster is when you draw your firearm, and that's something to consider when carrying inside the waist, that Kydex, that hard outer case, will actually hold the form and allow you to reholster that gun without having to remove the holster. I know some of your other inside the waist holsters that are cloth, I've had some over the years that when you have them inside your waist, as soon as you draw that gun, that holster just collapses. And then in order to get that firearm back in, you've got to pull that holster out and then reholster it. Now there's ways to reholster it without taking it out, but you're putting yourself at risk, especially if you carry with a round in the chamber. Some other things to consider on your holsters is, does the holster cover the entire frame of the gun? There are many on the market that do not. Again, a couple that I've made. Here's one that I made for one of mine. You can see that this holster covers the entire frame. This is just a simple belt outside the pants, pancake style holster. It covers the entire frame. But another one that I made, you can see that it does not. That the muzzle of the gun is sticking out past the holster. And one disadvantage of a holster like this is that this being exposed, if you are outside regularly working or something like that, like me when I'm out on my property, I generally have a firearm on me. When that muzzle is exposed like that, depending on what you're doing, you can, smack that against objects, things that you're around when you're out. And, these things are expensive, so you don't really want to damage your firearm. One good thing about this holster, though, is it is super compact, super lightweight, but that is something to consider. You don't want to damage a firearm that you paid a lot of money for. On the market also are fanny packs that are targeting the concealed carry market specifically, that will allow you to carry a firearm with you. I know that you don't see as many people using fanny packs today as you once did, but there's a lot of ladies out there who still use them. Drop your pistol in the fanny pack, have it on you, and that's a good way to carry a firearm concealed. One thing you do want to remember, though, if you choose some type of a holster like this or a fanny pack for your concealed carry holster, you need to remember that you need a separate compartment just for your firearm. And the reason for that is if you have other things in there, keys, ink pens, whatever. If anything gets in there around that trigger, if you're carrying with a loaded chamber, you can have a negligent discharge, and that's something you do not want to do. We are legally and morally responsible for everything that happens with our firearms. You know, you can injure yourself, you can injure someone else. So you need to have a separate compartment if you are going to use a fanny pack like that to carry your firearm. And the same can be said with purses. This is one of my wife's purses, and this particular purse has a separate compartment just for a firearm. It's not very large, however, it does work. Now, one thing that I recommend on a purse like this is that you get a pocket holster for your particular gun. This is not going to fit in there. This is made for basically a mouse gun is what this one's made for. But a pocket holster that will cover the trigger guard, like we mentioned earlier, those are generally made for carrying a gun in the pocket of your clothing. If that is how you're going to carry, if you ladies out there, if you have a purse with concealed carry holster like that, get one of those pocket holsters to go in there. That way it kind of is formed more to your gun. It's better chances of it protecting your gun and holding your gun in place in your purse and not allowing it to turn one way or the other in there for when you do need it. Another type of holster that's on the market, especially for you guys that are into all the tactical gear, of course, are your tactical holsters. This particular holster is made to be able to be laced into some MOLLE if you have a plate carrier or if you have a pack that has MOLLE webbing. And they are generally a universal design that will hold a wide range of different firearms. They generally will feature some additional straps to help secure that firearm in place. You can see here this one has a thumb brake as well as this clip to keep that firearm secure. You know, if you have a plate carrier on, if you are, for whatever reason, a shooting vest, you don't really want that falling out, especially if it's not your primary firearm. You know, some type of competitions, you may see some of your guys wearing tactical gear, wearing something similar to this. You can get these both designed in vertical mounts as well as horizontal mounting to your webbing. It just really depends. Some of them will do both. They're generally ambidextrous. They're customizable for a wide range of firearms. Now these are rather large also. Again, they're made to go on the outside of a plate carrier or some other type of tactical gear, MOLLE webbing. But they are a very good option depending on how you want to carry your firearm. I know this one will fit on my camping pack very well. I'll have a concealed carry on me, but if I wanted to carry an additional firearm, I could simply put this onto the webbing of my pack, put a pistol in it, and away I go. Something that you need to remember is there is no universal industry standard for retention levels. You hear all the time holster companies advertising level 2 retention, level 3 retention. That basically just applies for their particular holster brands. There are many different ways that your holsters can retain your firearm. And this one, you can see that the retention of it is just a simple thumb brake. Just put your thumb, place it through there, push it down, unsnap it, and then you're able to draw your firearm. The other way that some holsters will retain your firearm, again, is just the pressure of the way that the holster is made. It just squeezes around the trigger guard and certain other areas around the firearm to keep it from falling out. It's just a friction retention type holster. Then of course the Serpa does have the mechanical lever. There are a few different options for these. I know that Serpa has a brand out for law enforcement that also has a hood that comes over the back of the firearm where you are required to push down on a lever in the back as well as push the release in the front to draw that firearm. And then still other holsters like this one have a couple of different ways. It does have the thumb brake and then the additional strap as I showed you just moments ago. Again, guys, no matter which holster you choose to carry your firearm in, make sure that it is one that covers that trigger completely. That is the best way to avoid any kind of accidental discharge with your firearm when it is holstered. Don't be cheap. Buy a quality holster. Get online, check out the forums, see what other people are using. And you may even consider, if you're like me and like to just get out in your shop and try to make things, you may even experiment and try to make a few of your own. But that's completely up to you and your capabilities of making different things. But guys, I hope you liked the video. I hope it gives you just a little bit better understanding of some of the different types of holsters that are out there, especially for you new shooters. I would appreciate it if you would drop any comments down below. If you have any questions, also be sure to subscribe. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.